I am the great niece of Vic Hutfield and rather proud of his achievements. He was a pioneer in the fields of motor cars, motorcycles and aeroplanes. Born in Gosport, 26th of May 1887. He wrote copious notes about his life, and here are some of his exploits spoken by Chris Haddock, his great-nephew.
Gosport was one of the first places in the country to have an airfield. This was at Fort Grange and became known as Grange Field. In autumn 1909, Lieutenants Port and Pirret, two officers from the submarine base Gosport, were carrying out gliding experiments at Portsdown Hill. Their glider was built in the base, then placed on a boat and towed by pinnace from Fort Blockhace to the Chalk Quay at Paulsgrove, where it was transferred to a motor-wheeled trolley, and a party of sailors, after a lot of work, hauled it up the side of the hill, close to Fort Southwark. A wooden track extending about 100 yards had been laid down, and then on the 25th of September 1909 the two naval officers climbed into the seat side by side, one grasping the levers controlling the tail rudder and the elevators. The end of the track had almost been reached when the glider soared slightly into the air. Then, still flying, it canted forward in a slightly starboard direction and turned over. The two lieutenants fell out of their seats and scrambled clear unhurt. However, the glider was a complete write-off. I started to build flying machines round about 1909 to 1910, but the Frenchman Blériot beat us to it, being the first man to fly the English Channel and receiving £1,000 for doing it. The Daily Mail then offered a prize of £10,000 to the first person to fly from London to Manchester. The race was on, but the prize was eventually won by Louis Paulham in 1910. The RAS Aeroplane Company Gosport was formed. The company consisted of three London men, Mr. Reeder, a barman, Mr. Allen, a bricklayer, and Mr. Sheffield, a chauffeur. We built the first hangar on Grange Field, now known as the Polo Field, opposite the Cocked Hat, and I built the monoplane from tubing. The wheels were set into bicycle forks. The dimensions were a span of 32 foot 4 inches, length of 28 foot 6 inches, and the chain-driven propeller at a diameter of 7 feet. I was out by Mr. Crossland, a local furniture maker. Of course, in those days you could not buy an aeroplane engine, and we fitted a 24 horsepower Lascelles radial engine and a Weir's propeller. In July 1910, experimental runs took place. Trials were conducted on Grange Airfield. During the trials, the machine lifted from the ground and flew across the field, but crashed and broke its propeller. The field was not level, with several large potholes in it. Lots of water had laid there, and these conditions contributed to the plane nosediving on landing. A replacement propeller was ordered, and after many months it was delivered, only to find that it had been turned with the pitch on the wrong angle and was no use. Winter months passed, and a young lad by the name of Lywood, who was very interested in flying, decided that he would fly the machine. He took the controls, and again the plane lifted and flew a few hundred yards, mainly due to the lightness of this young lad. This lad later became Air Vice Marshal Lywood. After about 18 months we gave up testing the machine at Grangefield. We then put it on show in my garage in Brockhurst Road, Gosport, now Reeky's, where it was a great attraction. On the 5th of November 1910 it was offered for auction, along with a large new hangar, benches, vices, tools, with complete camp outfit for 4 persons. Free use of excellent flying ground with no extra expense was also included in the asking price. It was put on offer for £600 or nearest offer. Shortly afterwards 2 airships landed in Grange, named Gamma and Beta. I was a member of a small party that guided these monsters down into the dry moats at the rear of Fort Grange and secured them with their mooring ropes for the night. Following this came the excitement in 1915 of the German Zeppelin's visit, when searchlights lit the sky and guns boomed. A frantic policeman caused me to leave my bed during the night and to drive my car to St. George's Barracks to collect troops and ammunition. I squeezed 15 soldiers into my open 5-seater car and rushed them to Ferrum to await orders, but the only order that came was return to barracks, the raid is over. Some months later an aviator came hurrying into my garage and asked me to hurry to the field with some empty petrol cans, as he had an aeroplane down there with the petrol tank leaking and he wanted me to repair it. I took the tank out and there were 21 leaks in it as the rivets had vibrated out. 2 days after, when the machine took off, quite a crowd assembled to see it. The aviator was Commander Porter, RN retired, the first man with whom I had worked to build the first machine at Gosport. He was now flying a Duperdeusen aeroplane, capable of flying over 100 miles an hour, and was the first man to take off and land a machine at Grange Field. Grange Field was later taken over by the Royal Flying Corps. They erected a large canvas Bessonneau-type hangar, and that started Grange as an airfield. It became famous for its method of training pilots, which became known as the Gosport Scheme of Training.